really want us to be and be known as a Jesus church. And to be known to love with the love of Christ and to really be Christ-focused and Christ-honoring. And so tonight we take another look into his life and his word and his teaching from Luke chapter 2. And this is really almost a humorous passage, but it's certainly a different level of disturbing one. Every year his parents went to Jerusalem for the feast of the Passover. He was 12 years old. They went up to the feast according to the custom. And by the way, you often see that up to the feast or up to Jerusalem and down to Nazareth because it had a geological or topographical meaning to it. Jerusalem was much higher than the rest of the nation, and so when the folks traveled to Jerusalem like they did on this celebration, this pilgrimage, they went up in elevation. After the feast was over, while his parents were returning home, the boy Jesus stayed behind in Jerusalem, but they were not aware of it. And, you can imagine, they went in a large group, lots of friends and relatives that traveled from their town, Nazareth, up to Jerusalem. And when they turned around and headed back home, the boy Jesus wasn't ready to go back home. He stayed in Jerusalem. Thinking he was in their company, they traveled on for a day. When they began looking for him among their relatives and friends, when they did not find him, they went back to Jerusalem to look after him. And you can kind of hear the discussion of, I thought you were watching him. No, I thought you were watching him. And he got kind of lost in the busyness of their time in Jerusalem, and they didn't notice him because, again, there were a large number of these folks who traveled together, and they went back to Jerusalem to look for him. So he was missing for one day when they went back. After 3 days, they found him in the temple courts. So, they lost their son for 2 or 3 days in the hustle and bustle of all the crowd of Jerusalem that was there for the Passover feast, and so it was a pretty scary time. After 3 days, they found him in the temple courts, and who would think of finding a 12-year-old boy in church? But that's where he was. He was in the temple courts, but he wasn't just sitting there, waiting for his family to come back. He was actively engaged in theological discussions with the rabbis, sitting among the teachers, listening to them and asking them questions. But he wasn't just asking them questions. Everyone who heard him was amazed at his understanding and his answers. So he was dialoguing with these theological wise men, these rabbis who had been studying the Hebrew Bible for years, and he was talking to them as if he were one of them. And they didn't know that he was a rabbi in training, and he was a young Messiah. When his parents saw him, they were astonished. "What are you doing here?" His mother said to him, "Son, why have you treated us like this? Your father and I have been anxiously searching for you." And Jesus' reply is almost incredulous. And remember, this is Luke's gospel, but this is probably Luke's account that he got from Mary, describing to him what had happened. "Your father and I have been anxiously searching for you." "Why were you searching for me?" he asked. "Didn't you know I have to be in my Father's house?" But they did not understand what he was saying to them. Then he went down to Nazareth with them and was obedient to them. But his mother treasured all these things in her heart. Does that phrase sound familiar? Remember when she was visited by the angel and he said, you're going to give birth to a child and you're going to call his name Jesus? And what did she do? She treasured those things in her heart. And she treasured these memories and this experience and this encounter in her heart. And Jesus grew in wisdom